Okay, good morning students. We shall pass on to the chapter number 9 today, ratio analysis. What do you mean by ratio analysis? It is one of the tools or one of the methods of analyzing the financial statement. In the last class we have seen how to analyze the financial statements, and there were 5 methods. One, comparative statement analysis. Second one, common size statement analysis. Third one, trend analysis. Fourth one, cash flow analysis. Fifth one, fund flow analysis. These were the 5 methods of analyzing the financial statements, what we have seen under chapter number 8. We have completed chapter number 8, now we have passed on to chapter number 9, which is ratio analysis. If the statements are given or analyzed in terms of ratio, it is called ratio analysis. What is that ratio? It may be 2:1, it may be 1.5:1, it may be 3:1. Under this, for the comparison purposes, in a firm, there may be very many departments, very many units. One unit may be compared with that of the other units. If one unit earns 1 lakh as a profit, if other unit earns 2,50,000, we can say simply unit A earns 1 lakh, B earns 2,50,000. How we can compare? This we can compare B with that of A, that is 25:10, and this 10 can be written as 1, and this 2 point, divide both the sides by 10, 25/10, 2.5:1. This is for B, this is for A. And therefore we can say simply B earns 2.5 times more than unit B. This is the method. So it is easy for the comparison purpose. So this ratio analysis is introduced in this chapter. In this, there are 4 methods of, or 4 ratios are given here. We will go to the theory part after completing all the problems. Then alone you will come to know what are the terms I use, you will easily understand it. So what I am going to do now, I am going to do first the problems under the 4 different ratios. One is the liquidity ratio, second one is solvency ratio or long-term solvency ratios, third one turnover ratio, fourth one profitability ratios. And what are the 4 types? Liquidity ratios and solvency ratio, that is long-term solvency ratio. The third type is turnover ratio, and the fourth one is profitability ratio. Our aim or our intention today is to finish the first type, liquidity ratios. What are the 2 different types of liquidity ratios? Liquidity ratios. Under this one, current ratio, one current ratio, two quick ratio. One current ratio, other one is quick ratio. We shall see the ratios one by one. Now, we shall take illustration 1. The problems are given there, you see, illustration 1. What are the items given there? Current investments, inventories, trade receivables, cash and cash equivalent, prepaid expenses. All these five items are current assets. Now, the first type is 1, current ratio is equal to current assets divided by current liabilities. Current assets by current liabilities. So, this is the formula for finding out the first ratio under liquidity ratio. So, what we should have the total of current assets, we should have the total of current liabilities. If we know the answer for numerator and denominator, we can substitute the values here and we can find the answer. For that purpose only, some items are given as current assets. So, what are the current assets? Current assets is equal to the items given under it is current investments plus inventories. Inventories means I told you already, stock. Inventories plus trade receivables or bills receivables. Trade receivable is a current asset. Trade payable is a current liability or bills payable. Cash and cash equivalents. Cash and cash equivalents plus the last current asset, prepaid expenses. Outstanding expense is a liability, whereas the prepaid expense is an asset. Substitute the value for all these five items. 80,000 plus 1,60,000 plus 40,000, 4 lakhs. 4 lakhs plus 1,20,000 plus 40,000. 2 plus 2, 4, 4 plus 4, 8 lakhs it comes. It is equal to 8 lakhs. The total value of current assets equal to 8 lakhs. Now we should find the current liabilities. Current liabilities. What are the current liabilities given here? Trade creditors, plus bills payable plus expenses payable. that is outstanding expenses, expenses payable. These are the three current liabilities. Then write amount there 1,60,000 plus 1 lakh plus 1,40,000. This is equal to 4 lakhs. This is rupees 4 lakhs. So, for the numerator and the denominator, we have got the answer. Numerator, it is 8 lakhs. Denominator, it is 4 lakhs. And this is equal to 8 lakhs by 4 lakhs, 2 by 1, which is equal to 2:1. This is the current ratio under illustration number 1. What we have done in it, we are going to see the exercise problem also now, and before that, just now I said there are 4 types of ratios. One is this first liquidity ratio, second one long-term solvency ratio, third one turnover ratios, fourth one profitability ratios. These are the 4 types of ratios. In the first type, liquidity ratio, there are 2 subdivisions. One is the current ratio, second ratio is the quick ratio. So we are trying to find the current ratio from the illustration number 1. What should be the formula? Current ratio is equal to current assets by current liabilities. For this we must find the answer. For that, what we should do? The current assets are scattered. There may be very many items. We should collect and find the total of all those assets, and we can put it here. That what we have done here. There are 5 current asset items are given. We have added together and we have written the answer here. Then regarding the denominator, current liabilities, there are 3 liabilities given in this problem, and those 3 liabilities are current trade creditors, bills payable and expenses payable. For all these 3 values are given. We have substituted and found the total. And you can write the total current liabilities here in the denominator. Therefore, 8 lakhs by 4 lakhs, so 2 times 1 times 2 by 1. And this fraction can be written in the ratio form 2:1. If it is A by B, it is A:B. If it is B by A, it is B by A. The fraction can be written, this is equal to A:B. If the fraction is B by A, B:A. And how we are writing the fraction in terms of ratio. And that what I have written here. We will continue the same types of problems once again. From the exercise, we shall do problem 1, more or less the similar model. The terms are something different. That is why I have taken this and doing. In one, the first one, as usual, the question here is calculate the current ratio. So for current ratio, this is the formula. So we should keep ready the answer for current assets and current liabilities. Then we can substitute and find the ratio. Okay, right. Now the first one is current assets. Here, what are the current assets given in problem number 1? Current investments. Plus inventories. Plus trade debtors. plus bills receivable. Bills receivable, trade receivable, they are one and the same. Bills payable, trade payable, they are one and the same. Bills receivable plus cash and cash equivalents. This is equal to, write down to 40,000 plus 2 lakhs plus 1,20,000 plus 80,000 plus 10,000 plus 80,000 plus 10,000. Now you can find the total, add and write. 240, 360, then 440 and plus 10,000, 490 it comes, I think. We shall check the total once again. 450, 4,50,000. This is the amount of current assets. Current investments 40, 240, 360, 440 plus 10, 4,50,000. Then current liabilities. The next term given is here fixed assets. Current assets and fixed assets are opposite to each. In the formula only current assets given, and therefore we should not consider the fixed assets, leave it. Then go to current liabilities. Bills, trade creditors. The first item is trade creditors plus bills payable expenses payable trade creditors, bills payable plus expenses payable. What are those amounts? Trade creditors 80,000 plus bills payable 50,000 plus expenses payable 20,000. So the total current liabilities equal to 1,50,000. Now we have found out the numerator answer and the denominator answer. You substitute and write. Numerator it is 4,50,000 and in the denominator it is 15,000. 1,50,000 and find the answer now. All the 4 zeros are cancelled. Here 115, here 315. 3 by 1 it is equal to 3:1. This is the current ratio. Current ratio for the particulars given. Then we shall pass on to the second method now. Illustration number 2. What is given in illustration number 2? We are supposed to find both the ratios. Calculate quick ratio. The second one is calculate quick ratio. It is the question. What is quick ratio? This is first type under liquidity ratios. One, current ratio. Number 2, liquid ratio, quick ratio. Number 2, quick ratio. What is the formula for quick ratio? Quick ratio is equal to, only this numerator will change. For current ratio, current assets. For quick ratio, quick assets. You can remember easily the formula. For current ratio, the numerator is current assets. For quick ratio, the numerator is quick assets divided by the same current liabilities. So, for both the ratios, denominator is the same, current liabilities. Numerator for current ratio, current assets. Quick ratio, quick assets. Again, how to find this current assets and the current liabilities, quick ratio and current ratio? We should find. So for this, illustration number 2. Illustration 2. We are going to do now illustration. Here it is the total current liabilities 1 lakh. It is ready hand. The total itself it is given. The total current assets 2,50,000. But from the current assets, what we have to find, we will have to find the quick assets. How to find the quick assets? Quick assets. Quick assets is equal to current assets minus inventories minus prepaid expenses. Prepaid expenses. So what does it mean? From the total current assets, if you minus inventories and the prepaid expenses, the balance amount is the quick assets. Okay? Now we can find for this illustration number 2, the items are given there. This is equal to current assets 2,50,000 minus inventories 50,000 plus prepaid expenses 15,000 minus prepaid expenses 15,000 minus prepaid expenses. So then what about the current assets? It is given ready hand. We should find the formula. Using the formula, we should write the answer. See what happened in illustration 1 and exercise problem number 1. The items are given separately. we find the total of current assets, and from the liabilities given we found the current liabilities. Okay. So after finding it, we have substituted numerator and the denominator, found the answer. But here what happens? The assets are not separately given. Current assets are given as it is, current assets, and by current liabilities. What are the current assets? 2,50,000 by current liabilities 1 lakh. And what should be the current ratio? You cancel this, 4 zeros cancel, 25 by 10, which is equal to, you divide both numerator and the denominator, we will get 1, 2.5. That is 25 by 10, 2.5, 10 by 10, 1. This can be written in the form of ratio 2:5:1. 2.5:1. This is the current ratio. What about the quick ratio for the illustration number 2? This is also illustration number 2. And what is quick ratio? Quick ratio is equal to quick assets by current liabilities. Then quick assets minus inventories minus prepaid expenses. If you minus these two items from current assets, we will get quick asset. Quick asset normal. Current assets the inventory prepaid expenses minus பண்ணிடு. So in this case what happens here? 50,000 minus பண்ணனும், 15,000 minus பண்ணனும். So 1,85,000. So we get 1,85,000 it is. Okay, now you come to the formula. This is equal to 1,85,000 quick lakhs by 1 lakh, the same current liabilities. 1 lakh it is given, therefore you write 1 lakh. 3 zeros cancel. Then if you divide by 10, you can put the point after 1 digit. If you divide any number by 100, put the point after 2 digits. That is equal to 1.85 by 1. Divide both the numerator and the denominator by 100. 100 if you divide 100 by 100, 1. If you divide the numerator by 1, then 185 by 100 is 1.85. This can be written in the ratio form 1.85:1. This is the quick ratio and the current ratio for illustration number 2. But in this illustration number 2, you are not supposed to find the answer for current ratio, but I myself added this current ratio also in this problem. In the problem, quick ratio மட்டும்தான் கேட்டிருக்காங்க. So if you find the quick assets and the quick liabilities, we can write it. Quick liabilities given readily 1 lakh, I mean current liabilities. Quick assets, how we should, the quick assets are not given readily, but how we can find the quick assets? From the current assets minus inventories minus prepaid expenses. This minus current asset, we will get quick assets. Therefore, quick assets 2,50,000, inventory is 5,000, and this prepaid expenses minus 15. So this 50 minus 50, okay, then 2 lakhs minus 15,000, it will come to 1,85,000. So we have found out quick assets. Go to the formula. Quick assets by current liabilities. Quick assets, how much? 4,85,000. I mean 1,85,000. Denominator current liabilities. Here we have found out, or we need not find. In the problem itself it is given current liabilities 1 lakh. So we have written that 1 lakh. Simplify, 3 zeros cancel. 100 and numerator divided by 100, then you can put the point after 2 digits, therefore 1.85 by 1. This is the method of finding the current ratio and quick ratio, or simply they can ask what are the liquidity ratios, mention them. If the question is asked like that, you can write quick ratio is the ratio between quick assets and the current liabilities, you can write. So the current liabilities are given in the problem straight away, 1 lakh. So we must find not the current liability, current assets, but it is quick assets. How to find the quick assets? Quick assets is nothing but this formula. Current assets, from the current assets, if you minus inventories and the prepaid expenses, you will get the remaining value, current assets here. Okay, we shall pass on to the exercise problem now. Now we shall pass on to exercise problem number 2. Problem number 2. Exercise problem number 2. This is a very simple problem. You are supposed to calculate quick ratio, only this ratio you should find. Further, what is given? Total current liabilities, total current assets, inventories, prepaid expenses, etc. are given. Total current liabilities, it is 2,40,000. 2,40,000. It is readily given. The question in this is only calculate quick ratio. For this current liability is in ready hand, and now we will have to find the quick assets. From the current assets, what is the amount of current assets? 4,50,000. What are the items you should minus? Inventories you should minus 70,000. And the prepaid expenses 20,000 you should minus. $3,60,000. 3,60,000. So the quick asset is 3,60,000. So if you simplify, 3 zeros cancel and 4 to 0 also cancel. Here 3 12s are 36, 2 12s are 24. Further, if you divide this, 1 2 is 2, and here if you divide 3 by 2, 1 2 is 2, remainder 1, add 1 0, put the point, 5 2s are 10, so 0. So what we should write? 1.5 is to 1, that is 1.5 is to 1. There may be a point in your mind, sir, why not we use or why not we write the ratio as 3:2? A very good question you should have in your mind. But if you compare one company or one unit earns 2 times the profit and the other unit earns 3 times the profit, the comparison will not be an easy one. But if you write like this, if one unit has earned 1 time, the other unit has earned 1.5 times, then the comparison will be easy. So for that purpose, what they are doing almost in all ratios, that what we are going to see yet. In all these ratios, the denominator is made as 1, that you should remember. Of course, this 3 by 2, 3 is to 2 also we can write, but what method they follow to make the things easier? The denominator should always be 1. Whatever the number in the denominator, you write 1 for that number, then for the numerator answer, divide numerator by the denominator. கீழே இருக்கிற நம்பரை அப்படியே 1ன்னு போட்டுட்டு கீழே உள்ள நம்பருக்கு, மேலே உள்ள நம்பரை கீழே உள்ள நம்பரோட டிவைட் பண்ணி அந்த ஆன்சர் மேலே எழுதுது. சரி, 2க்கு 1ன்னு போட்டுட்ட பிறகு என்ன செய்ய, இந்த மேலே இருக்கிற நம்பர் 3 கீழே இருக்கிற நம்பர் 2 டிவைட் பண்ணி வர ஆன்சரை நியூமரேட்டரில் போடுது. Then we can write 1.5 is to 1. Okay, this is the problem for quick ratio. Though the current ratio is not asked, I am trying to find it, that ratio also. What is that the current ratio? Current assets by current liabilities. Current assets 4,50,000. What is the amount of current liabilities? It is given separately there in problem number 2. Problem number 2. Current liabilities 2,40,000. So you just divide, 4 zeros to cancel. If you divide 24 by 3, 8. If you divide 45 by 3, 15. 15 by 8. What I told you, write the denominator as 1, then divide the numerator by denominator. You divide that 15 by 8, 1 8, remainder 7, add 1 0, put the point, 8 8s are 64, remainder 6, 60, 7 8s are 56, 60, 56, remainder 4, add 1 more 0, 5 8s are 40. So what number you should write? 1.875 by 1. This can be written as 1.875 is to 1. Sometimes they may not appear in 3 digits the decimal. In that case, what you can write? 1.88 is to 1. Because the third digit is 5 and above. 5 and above. 5 is above. You can add 1 with the next digit, that is 8. Therefore, 1.88 is to 1. But in problem number 2, only this quick ratio is asked, but sometimes what they will give, they give the same question, but instead of asking this quick ratio alone, they may ask you to find the current ratio. Once again I repeat, the question may be asked, calculate the ratio of, or calculate the current ratio and the quick ratio, they may ask. Sometimes there is a common name for these two words, liquidity ratio. Calculate the liquidity ratio, simpler, singular on the மாதிரி. Sometimes separate calculate current ratio, calculate quick ratio அப்படின்னு கேட்கலாம். Sometimes இது ரெண்டுக்கும் சேர்ந்து காமனாக ஒரு நேம் இருக்கு. What it is? Liquidity ratio. So the question may be calculate liquidity ratios. In that case, you should remember what are the two types of liquidity ratios. One current ratio, other one is quick ratio. Okay, you should find both. Okay, we will continue. Illustration 3. Illustration 3. What are the questions asked? In illustration 3, calculate current ratio, quick ratio. These are the two. First one, we repair the current assets, current liabilities, then quick assets. If these 3 are calculated, we can substitute in the formula and find. Okay? We shall first find the current assets and the current liabilities. Current liabilities are given separately there, equity and liabilities, shareholders funds does not come. Non-current liabilities itself says it is non-current. Current liability இல்லைன்னு சொல்லிட்டாங்க. So the third one is current liabilities only. What are they? Short term borrowings, plus trade payables, plus other current liabilities, that is expenses payable, plus expenses payable, short-term provisions, Both short-term borrowings and provisions are coming under current liabilities. In addition to that, trade payables or bills payable, then expenses payables or expenses outstanding. These are the four important items given under current liabilities. And what are the amounts there? 50,000 plus 3,10,000 plus 15,000 expenses payable, 15,000 plus short-term provisions 25,000. So 3,10,000, 3,60,000, 3,85,000, 15,000. It comes to 4 lakhs. It comes to 4 lakhs. This is current liabilities. Then, what about current assets? The first item itself, they have given non-current assets. Therefore, we need not go there. Only non-current assets, we need not touch them. So, we go to the current assets. What are the current assets? Inventories plus trade debtors plus cash and cash equivalents plus other current assets, the prepaid expenses. These are the 4 current assets given. That is the trade debtors, cash and cash equivalents. In addition to that, inventories, stock, prepaid expenses. And these are the 4 items given in this problem. Now we can calculate those 4 items. 1,60,000 plus 3,20,000 plus 80,000 plus 40,000. This is equal to 480, 560 plus 40,000, 6 lakhs. So, this is 6 lakhs given, this is 4 lakhs given. And we can find the current ratio. Current asset value 6 lakhs, current liabilities value 4 lakhs. If you simplify this 6 by 4, then 3 by 2, and for 2, 1, 2 is 2. If you divide 3 by 2, you will get 1.5. Just now I have shown it. If you divide 3 by 2, 1, 2 is 2, remainder 1, add 0, put the point, 5 2s are 10, 0. Therefore, 1.5 by 1, which can be written as 1.5 is to 1. This is current ratio. To find the quick ratio, we need quick assets. Of course, current liabilities we have found out already. We can write here 4 lakhs, no problem. But what about quick assets? Quick assets, we have given the formula like from the current assets minus inventories and the prepaid expenses. Minus inventories and the prepaid expenses. What is the amount of current assets? 6 lakhs. You can write 6 lakhs minus. The value of inventory is 1,60,000 minus the prepaid expenses 40,000. So 1,60,000 minus 40,000 minus totally 2 lakhs we minus. So 6 lakhs minus 2 lakhs, it comes to 4 lakhs. Therefore, quick assets is also 4 lakhs. You write. So this is equal to 1 by 1. It is equal to 1:1. See, I told you, you should write the ratio with the denominator as 1. You should remember. With the denominator as 1 only you should do. Not with some other number. Here, naturally, automatically, the amount, if you simplify 1 by 1, because 4 lakhs by 4 lakhs is 1 by 1. Therefore, we can write easily 1:1. No. Now we shall pass on to illustration 3. Of course, the same model, certain items are different. So I have selected this. This is illustration 3. What are the questions asked? Current ratio and quick ratio. And we shall attend. These are the two formulae for current ratio, current assets by current liability. For quick ratio, quick assets by current liabilities. So, current assets, current liabilities and quick assets. These are the 3 items we repair because the same denominator is here. So, we shall keep ready those 3 items. Then we shall pass on to the formula. So, you should remember when you are asked to find the different types of liquid ratios, or if find the current ratio and the quick ratio. These are the 2 methods of asking this question. 1. Find different types of liquidity ratios, or find the current ratio and the quick ratio. Current ratio, quick ratio கண்டுபிடிக்கணும்னு சொல்லலாம். சிம்பிளா find the liquidity ratio ன்னு சொல்லலாம். அப்ப நீ என்ன செய்யணும்? நீ liquidity ratio நான் என்னென்ன? Current ratio, quick ratio ன்னு you should know. Not only that, you should remember the formula for that. Not only the formula, you should know what are the current assets items and what are the current liabilities items you should know. For that purpose only, I am giving you now the practice. Bear it in mind. Okay, now, current liabilities, it is given. Short-term borrowings. Plus trade payables plus other current liabilities, that is expenses payable. This expenses payable is nothing but outstanding expenses. Expenses payable means pay பண்ண வேண்டிய expense அர்த்தம். Outstanding expense na pending expense. Both are one and the same. Expenses payable. Then short term provisions. Short term provisions. So short term borrowing, short term provisions, if these short terms are current liabilities. In addition to that, trade payables or bills payable. Next one is expenses payable or outstanding expenses. These are all 4 items given in your book problem, that is given in the exercise and also in illustration. What are the amounts for that? 17,000 plus 25,000 plus 3,000 plus 5,000. So 20 plus 25, 45 plus 5, 50,000. Total current liabilities 50,000. Now, what about current assets? In the next page it is given, the first item itself is given non-current assets. Formula current assets clear. When it is given as non-current asset, you should not touch it. Whatever. Then, the second item is given as a current assets. So, what are the current assets given? Inventories. Inventories means stock. Second one, trade receivables. Trade receivables is nothing but bills receivable plus cash and cash equivalents plus other current assets, prepaid expenses, expenses paid in advance, prepaid expenses. Almost in most of the problems, only these are the 4 items appearing as current assets. These are the 4 items appearing under current liabilities. You can find it easily. So, then what are the amounts given for the current assets? 45,000 plus 70,000 plus 30,000 plus 5,000. This is 1,50,000. So with this current assets and the current liabilities, we can find the current ratio. So this is equal to current assets 1,50,000 by current liabilities 50,000. If you simplify, 4 zeros cancel, 3 5s are 15, 1 5 is 5, which is equal to 3:1. One ratio is found out. Then the next one is quick ratio. To find the quick ratio, we need quick assets. For this, what we have to do? From the current assets, we should minus inventories and prepaid expenses. Current assets 1,50,000 minus what is the amount of inventories? 45,000. What is the amount of prepaid expenses? 5,000. So from 1,50,000 we should minus 45,000 minus 5,000. Totally 50,000 you should minus. 1,50,000 minus 50,000. Therefore 1 lakh. So what is the amount of quick assets? Quick assets is 1 lakh by current liabilities is 50,000. 4 zeros, 4 zeros. 2 5s are 10, 1 5 is 5, which is equal to 2:1, which is equal to 2:1. These are the ratios today we have seen. I shall recall something for you. And what are they? What you should remember in this? There are, in the last chapter, we have seen how to analyze the financial statement. For that, we have chosen, or some tools are chosen. What are they? Statement, comparing the statement, common size statement, trend analysis, cash flow analysis, fund flow analysis. There were 5 analyses given, out of which for 3, comparative statement analysis, common size statement analysis, trend analysis, for these 3 problems were given. In the next chapter, number 9, ratio analysis, another method of calculating or comparing the income and other items. That is, there are different items involved in the business, and to compare those items, another method is called, which is called the ratio analysis. Under this ratio analysis, there are 4 methods. 1, the liquidity ratio method. Number 2, solvency, long-term solvency ratios. Then 3, turnover ratios. Number 4, profitability ratios. These are the 4 main subdivisions. In the first subdivision, liquidity ratio, there are 2 types of ratios. I told you how this question can be asked. Some particulars, these items can be given, and you may be asked to find the liquidity ratios. Simple, find liquidity ratios. In case if the question is such, you should know the liquidity ratios are current ratio and quick ratio. This is the ratio. Not only that, you should know the formula to find the current ratio and quick ratio. Current ratio is current assets by current liabilities. Quick ratio is quick assets by current liabilities. And therefore, here 2, here 2, 4. Totally, we need to find the answer for 3 because the denominator is the same. Current assets, current liabilities, quick assets. These are the 3. And we should know what are the items that will come under current assets. Of course, in these problems, these are the assets coming under current assets. And what are the items coming under current liabilities? Of course, these are the 4 items coming under current liabilities. And after finding current assets and current liabilities, we can substitute here and we can write it here. And what about the quick ratio? Quick assets by current liabilities. The same current liabilities we can write in the denominator. But what about quick assets? For quick assets, current assets minus inventories minus prepaid expenses. Current asset is minus 1. So we have minus this 1 lakh. We have written the quick assets 1 lakh by 50,000. That is 250. Here 152 by 1, 2:1. In all these, we have seen so far 6 problems. In all this, one common idea you can find what it is. The denominator must be always 1. Whatever the number in the denominator, you write as 1 put it. Then you divide the numerator and by the denominator and write the answer in the numerator. கீழே உள்ள நம்பருக்கு 1 போட்டுட்டு மேலே உள்ள நம்பரை கீழே உள்ள நம்பரால் டிவைட் பண்ணி வர்ற ஆன்சர் அப்படியே மேலே போட்டுது. Then almost in all the answers, the second number in the ratio, that is the denominator number, must be 1 and the numerator number may be 3, 2, 1.5, whatever it is, you can write it. Okay, thank you. We shall proceed to the next ratio tomorrow.